All right, Kelly, the Money in the Bank is set up for Saturday, and Drew McIntyre qualified again in the main event against Sheamus and Ilya Dragunov, and vowed he is going to win the Money in the Bank. Do you think he's going to win Money in the Bank? Actually, he took it a step further. He said he's going to leave Money in the Bank as the new World Heavyweight Champion. To me, my inclination is CM Punk's going to screw him out of it again, and it doesn't make sense for Drew to face Gunther at SummerSlam. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think a lot of people are going to figure that out, or assume that, but they're going to still enjoy seeing it happen if they're CM Punk fans and they want to see Drew get screwed over. And I think some Drew fans will tune in and just want to make sure that they can be enraged at Punk screwing with Drew again. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that CM Punk's going to screw him again, and early on. I don't know when CM started being the heel in this story, but he did start at some point, probably. But I would be comfortable saying that Drew was going to win this if there was not another obvious potential winner here. But looking at the field, I think LA Knight wins this and gets a year to see if they want to pull that trigger.
Tell me a little more what you think is going to happen with Drew, in terms of how things play out with CM Punk, because that was the focus at the end of the show.
Yeah, I don't. Part of what you said got eaten up by my computer, so I know you're asking what happened with Drew.
What do you think will happen with Drew and Punk? That's all. Just in terms of, does Punk just come out and just blatantly cost Drew the match, or do you think WWE's cognizant that some people might think that goes a little too far?
I think they've gone too far already, so hopefully that's not where they're heading, because it's been a very straightforward story that they're telling with those two. So I hope there's a little more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they might think they're getting away with it because they were overseas, and now they got this show here. I think that the Drew CM Punk match will be solidified at this show on Saturday in some way, whether it's during the match or not. I would like to see it not during the match and maybe after the match or something like that.
Yeah.
So CM Punk doesn't continue to look like the heel in this situation.
I think what I want to see is Punk gloat when Drew loses, but not cost him the match. I think that's what should have happened at Clash at the Castle too. You want to protect Punk from fans, and I'm not saying it's going to be an overwhelming number, but I can't rule out it's not going to be a significant number who just think Punk is, seeking revenge that is out of proportion, or at least out of proportion for a babyface, in response to what Drew has done. Obviously, going back to after the Royal Rumble, Punk got hurt in the Rumble, fair and square. They try to rewrite history a little bit, be sneaky with that. Drew attacked him afterwards, but he was already injured and he was already going to miss WrestleMania. And ever since then, all that's happened is a bunch of insults, and they're just playing into, Punk maybe being thin-skinned. But obviously Punk's, in Chicago, we had a huge response. I'm curious what happens when Punk's in a different environment, given the story we've had so far. But I don't think it's a bad story. I think it's an entertaining story. I just think they need to be cognizant of not going too far with Punk screwing with Drew. You mentioned the rest of the lineup. I think the least likely to win, and tell me if you agree with me, is Andrade. And then after that, Carmelo. Although, actually, maybe Chad Gable, because Chad's so tied up in another storyline, it just doesn't make sense for him to have Money in the Bank. I actually would think Carmelo would be more likely. But we're talking about people with, single digit, a tenth of a percent chances of winning this one. So, I mean, who cares, right? I mean, it's just for the sake of the drama in the match. I think if Chad's about to grab the briefcase, pretty close to zero. Carmelo Hayes, something a little bit more than that, but still not big. And then it just comes down to Jey Uso. I guess they could give a boost to Andrade, but he's kind of in that bottom half. So then it is Jey Uso, LA Knight, or Drew McIntyre. Drew could do it, but he vowed to cash in. Some people in the chat room thinking that was an accident, that he said he went too far. He went further than he meant to, as far as that goes. But I could see Jey Uso or LA Knight. I think a case can be made for both. So Kelly, over to you on that.
Yeah, in looking at this, I see the same chances that you do. Perhaps more on Andrade, just because they've done a little bit more hype for him in non-wrestling segments than I would have thought. And maybe that's just to sow doubt that he could possibly win this. But I think Mello, Gable, they're glad to be here. With Gable, they could do a continuing story with the Wyatt Six if they really want to during this match. I don't know if they want to do that during this match, but it could also be, hey, thanks for all the work you've done lately. So that I think some of these guys are just, I think it's that. I think it's thanks for the work you've done, and you get to do the job in this match. So I think Knight and Drew, I think the winner is between Knight and Drew. I would be very, very surprised. The rest I'll give single digits to.
Even Jay, is that low?
I think so. I guess they could do that for a year with him. But with him being a baby face, I think I like the idea of him getting a title shot in a more. I just think this match is so well set up for heels to take this at the right time. So Jay doesn't feel like that's the only thing keeping me from saying Jay, even though I know he's red hot right now.
Kelly, I'm worried we're losing you off to the side of the screen. The more you talk, the more we're seeing that only half of your face. That happened with Frank earlier with his on our 12-minute hot take. There we are. All right. That was funny. Frank's phone camera earlier today in our 12-minute hot take asking, what do AEW fans want? And his camera just kept dipping higher and higher. So we just kept seeing more of the roof of his car. Good to have you face to face. Let's pause and our discussion on Money in the Bank and formally introduce ourselves, and then we'll get to our video callers and more from the chat and maybe some emails. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Monday, July 1st, 2024. We're in the second half of the year, although I don't know, I think I read July 2nd, the official start of the second half of the year because of February being so short. But whatever, we're in the second half of the year, and things are heating up with a lot going on this summer, and we've got a lot to talk about here on this show just coming out of Raw tonight. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of Pro Wrestling Torch, PWTorch.com, the website, and the host of various podcasts and YouTube shows now. And we thank you for joining us either on YouTube Live or on demand on YouTube or on our podcast feed. Search Wade Keller on your podcast app, Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any iOS or Android app, and subscribe not only to this, our red logo show, but also the blue logo show, which is not on YouTube. Our Blue Logo Show features our main podcast, the weekly flagship, which will feature Jason Powell from ProWrestling.net tomorrow, and also pay-per-view previews, interviews, classics and new ones, and all kinds of good stuff from our library, along with new content. So search Wade Keller to get both of those. And while you're at it, search PWTorch, because when you do that on your podcast app, the PWTorch Daily Cast logo pops up. And when you subscribe to that, you get a different free show every day of the week with different hosts. And one of them is Kelly Wells from the NXT-based show, PWT Talks NXT. Kelly, I normally we've done a lot of podcasts together, but normally I see your face only at high school events for our kids. My son and your daughter are both at the same high school, and we often cross paths. But it's good to see you here on the video chat.
Good to be here, and I did not know you were going to bring that up, but yeah, I didn't know that I would be here tonight.
Do you not want to know people to know that we know each other?
No, it's great. My daughter going through some stuff. Our kids are 16; they're going through stuff.
15 for me, but yeah.
The fact that we're here at all,
you're mentioning that right before the show, yeah,
should be some sort of miracle.
Yep. Well, we'll stick to wrestling here, for our sake, for the sake of the listeners too. But Yeah, it's cool to have you on. Real quick, tomorrow, are you hosting the PWT NXT, or is this a week off for you with the holiday and everything?
I plan to be hosting.
Mhm. Things
I've
happen.
got I've got like a 5-day thing planned,
Mhm.
but as far as they know, I'm going to be there. So I
Sounds
think
good.
I'll be there.
Sounds good. The event coming up this weekend, you guys will be talking a lot about NXT Heatwave coming up on Sunday, a big weekend along with Money in the Bank for WWE. For people who aren't paying close attention to NXT, is this looking like a good show?
I think it's looking like a good show. I continue to think that NXT is doing too many of these special shows.
Yeah.
Uh, they sometimes have the personnel to run these every month, and they sometimes do not, because that is the way that developmental cycles work. So, right now, I wish it was every 2 months at the very, very most for these shows. But they're going to do what they're going to do. So I don't know. I think they're getting a little too greedy with the number of big shows here, but this show does. I think they're doing what they can to build this one.
Fair enough. Yep. All right. So let me give out the email. And also, actually, first I'll remind people, if you are a VIP member or a Patreon member, you are cordially, formally invited to go to my TV report covering Raw on the VIP website, the Keller Raw report, or on Patreon. We posted a link to our Patreon supporters that has a link that can make you a video or just audio only caller. Click on that link if you are watching us live and you want to be on the show. You can turn your camera off or turn it on, up to you, and you can contribute to the show. Another thing you can do is email the show, wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. And just let us know what you thought of Raw, rant and rave, or ask us questions. Anything like that, you're invited to do that. And of course, you're welcome to do that even if you don't watch our live stream and you watch or listen to us on delay. The other thing you can do is join us in the chat room if you are live. And we've got a fun group of regulars in the chat room with more people being added to the conversation. And that's one of the reasons to listen to us live and join us live on YouTube so that you can be part of the chat. We'll be throwing up some of their comments later. As always, super chats are appreciated, and it definitely does as we increase our viewership. Helps your chats stand out, and we'll certainly give extra attention to that if you are so kind to donate with a super chat. All right, Kelly. So, a lot to talk about on this show. I've been enjoying Raw lately, and the 3 hours goes by quicker now than it used to. I think they've figured out who they are and what they're doing, and they do it well. There's characters that I care about who have a combination of well-defined personalities and talent on the mic and an ability to tell stories in the ring. I think Hunter Paul Levesque, there's an absence of irritants, and I think talent's being utilized pretty well. So we're going to get into all kind of the regular stuff, but before we get to our first video caller, I want to get your take on the second VHS tape with Uncle Howdy and Bo Dallas. I think Bo Dallas's acting is really good. I think the production value is really good. This is not for everyone, but WWE certainly thinks it is a ratings draw because, again, they said that we'll play the tape later, and they see that as a way to keep viewers tuned in. Where are you, Kelly, on this type of, just for people who don't know, this type of WWE content, and how do you think they're pulling it off so far? The new Wise
Yeah,
Guys.
if it's not for everybody, then sorry, because it is for me. I really like what they're doing here. I think as a hook for the show, it's working. I have dropped in and out of this company over the years. Used to be 100%er for many, many years. And for years, that wasn't true. I have not missed a show in about 3 months because I felt that what they're doing is so strong.
Mhm.
And this is one of the major reasons. The hook of this, what Taylor Rotunda is doing with this group is a major part of that. So I you can't always blur the lines between real and kayfabe and have it work, but I think they're getting away with it. And it's because of how much they're acknowledging what he's doing.
Mhm.
And I think it's also because as fans, I think we would all agree. We can't know for sure, but I think all of the available evidence says that Bray Wyatt would love what's going on right now as well. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's that as well. For me, this is a big hook and a big reason to keep watching. And even though I know what's going to happen in those scenes with Uncle Howdy and Taylor, I bought into it. I love the way it's edited. I love the way it's shot, and I love his performance.
Yeah.
So
That's been the
apparently,
pleasant surprise.
yeah,
Yeah.
apparently he was miscast simply as Bo Dallas, which I thought he did just fine. I love what he's doing now.
So Bo Dallas is just pulling from a reservoir of, I think, some real feelings. That's fueling his acting. But I think there's also, like you said, a talent there that wasn't tapped into in his previous incarnations of his character. Um, yeah, I mean, I just think this is really good, pro wrestling acting. I mean, it's a different kind of delivery. It doesn't always translate to TV shows or movies or the stage or anything like that. Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. I that's not super relevant. It just works in the context of Raw. And I like the juxtaposition of Bo and Uncle Howdy and their interactions, and I thought it was clever with the production. And again, they're getting rid of the supernatural aspect of the videos, and really they're creating a framework for why the videos are even airing. Obviously, this is a group. I mean, it's not perfect. They're not going to be able to pull this off perfectly in terms of it fitting within the normal canon and structure and rules of engagement of how WWE works. But by having the VHS tape delivered to Cole and Cole taking it out of a box and saying, we're going to bring this to the production truck and air it, they're taking away the idea that it just is magically appearing or it's on a format sheet. It's more, oh, we got to fit this in later when we have time. So I like that. Now, granted, where did all the fog machines come from? Why did they play their music? Why are we now talking about arresting them for attacking, innocent bystanders? Why aren't they making that a bigger deal? It's imperfect in that way. It ultimately won't matter, but I think it's better because they are in ways that they can without taking away from the gimmick. They're creating a reason for it existing in their universe, and that VHS tape delivery, I think, works. So, your thoughts on anything I just said there, and then I want to move to the Chad Gable aspect of this.
Yeah, I think they got away with that. And for me, the delivery of the tape was a hook, so they got away with that. I like that it was Nikki there. I don't know if we're supposed to know that this is Nikki, or who they are, or what these other characters are going to be named, but I think they got away with that as well. Yeah, boy, it's also big picture. As high concept as this is, I think they're getting away with it. And they had Corey Graves on here talking about this, and he had to acknowledge it right away at the beginning of the show because what's going on is such a strange departure from what he's seeing on SmackDown. So they're they're kind of introducing a world that we haven't seen them play in before. And I'm surprised at how well that's all going.
Where do you think they're going with Chad Gable? It's an interesting first person to go after. And did anything that Bo said and the interplay with Uncle Howdy, did that give you any window into where they are going with Chad Gable? I mean, they talked about family and the family abandoned Gable. Bo's talking about them forgetting us. We're making them remember. I'm still not sure, but it doesn't mean the answer isn't apparent to other people. Why Chad Gable is their first focus, and it doesn't cast the Wyatt Six as baby faces, even though they're going after heel Gable. It seems more it's a vehicle to get Gable to make a case to reconcile with Otis and Maxine and Tozawa. And we clearly, because of Cole's interjection going, don't believe him, Otis, don't buy him, that we're not supposed to see Gable in a sympathetic way, despite the Wyatt Six attacking him. So it's intriguing. It's one of the things about Triple H's booking that I'm seeing more of than under Vince McMahon, which is not arbitrary lack of defined characters, but there's times where there's a strategy behind it or a novelty to seeing a situation where you're not quite it's not quite obvious who you're supposed to be rooting for. And at this point, I think you're supposed to be intrigued by Bo, but um, not cheering for Bo because he's going after Gable, but not sympathetic to Gable either. And that's just a way to have it play out. And I think it's working, but I'm still curious what journey we're on.
Yeah, I've certainly, you can't miss all the things going on that are related to family. They're really kind of beating that part over the head. So that part of what Chad Gable is doing is obvious. I I guess the easy answer is Chad Gable is there because he can take a loss and it doesn't matter. And from a pro wrestling booking standpoint, it's not a big deal if he gets beat up in the first time. Um, and I don't know where that's supposed to lead us as far as what we think of the Wyatt Six, because we're kind of in an era where these groups can lean babyface or heel as far as the storyline is going. So sure, they knew we'd probably cheer this on the way in because we were excited to see this Bray Wyatt storyline play out. So they knew that we'd be excited to treat this like a babyface act. So maybe they get that out of the way with Chad Gable before they put it in a heel context. But because I don't want to say a post babyface heel era, but groups that lean heel or face, that I think is what's so intriguing about this group, because they can do either way, and I think they can get away with it either way.
Yeah. Let's go to the chat and bring a couple comments up and we get your response. Scott Cope says, when do we see any of them in the ring and who would be their first opponent when they wrestle? So elaborate on that more. I mean, they haven't given clues to a lot of opponents, but it seems like something with Gable and company will be part of it. But this has to eventually make its way into the kind of the common stage where wrestling takes place. And I just don't know who. I don't think it should be main event people. I mean, I think I'm enjoying the Wyatt Six, but I don't believe that it should be in the mix with top talent. No matter how good it gets, I feel like it's a gimmick that belongs, third or fourth, second tier guys, third or fourth from the top on any show that it's on. So how are you feeling about that? And where is there any, I mean, obviously right now everybody's sort of busy with their own thing going into Money in the Bank. Coming out of it, some people might be ready to be in a new storyline heading into SummerSlam.
Yeah, I think if you take something this high concept and you push it up too far, too fast, it can't work. Because there's only one Undertaker, and the rest are all Papa Shango, and soon enough they fall down the card. I've been thinking about this a lot. I don't know who comes out there first. I think that you save Uncle Howdy for a while. So I guess if I'm predicting who comes out first, it's either Nikki or it's the tag team of maybe Joe Gacy and Dexter Loomis. So, but how masked do you keep them? I don't know. I think that's the genius of this whole storyline, is that I know who's playing the roles, and I still don't know how I expect them to present these roles. I think they're doing a
And there's
really
no
good job
hurry.
of that.
I don't think
Yeah.
there's a hurry. Like, I think this is unrolling at a pace where it's kind of like the new Bloodline 2.0. Like every week there's a development, sometimes bigger than others, but you tune in every week knowing you're getting a little bit more. And it's almost like this. I mean, it happens with everything. I mean, the Judgment Day is the same way. There's a little seed planted, 2 or 3 things going on at once, no big angles, but everything is, every week you tune in, you're getting a payoff if you're into the storyline with things advancing a little bit. Brock Bedingfield says, I hope they delve into each character like they're doing with Bo/Howdy. And I'm curious about that too. Is this going to be really about Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy as a character, or and everybody else is just sort of almost interchangeable and not well developed? Or do you think we're going to get a series of weeks where it is some of the others being featured, where we learn more about Nikki Cross's character within this Wyatt universe, Dexter Lumis, etc.?
I hope they do that if the performers are up to it.
Hmm.
If they're not, then don't force it. Don't force 5 different storylines like this upon us if they can't do it. I think Nikki, maybe. I think Dexter, maybe. His whole gimmick is that he doesn't talk, so I don't know. I think
It would have
Joe
to be like
Gacy,
Bo speaking about him. Like Bo would have to
sure,
be saying, "This guy," yeah.
right. I think Joe, maybe Joe was in some really weird NXT storylines. He had some highs and some lows in
Yeah.
NXT. So, but I think in the right context, they could really do something cool there. Don't rush it. We know that this particular regime will not rush these things if they don't think they're ready. So I think they can get away with that. And if it takes some time to get to that, great. But I think that of the others, Gacy is the one who stands out most to me as someone who could have one of these segments. Um, but take your time and make sure you get it right first.
What do you think about the supernatural temptations here? And I mentioned earlier, that they're explaining what they can and not drawing attention to what they can't. Mike Myers, PWTorch contributor, said, "Did anyone notice they seem to purposefully include the fog machines on camera? Not so supernatural after all." I noticed that too, and I was like, well, are they thinking about that, or thinking it doesn't matter? We know the fog's coming from machines, or are they drawing attention to it on purpose to make you think, okay, someone in production is behind this. They're helping out as a way to just sort of go, we're kind of pulling the curtain back on the Wizard here. Doesn't mean they're not infiltrating the show, but we're not pretending that the fog, the smoke, the mist is just coming out of nowhere.
So, production in this company has been so tight for so long. Before everything changed, I feel like I understood what this company was and what they wanted you to see and what they wanted you not to see. So if a boom mic had dropped into the scene 5 years ago, I feel like it would have been
Yeah.
intentional because
Unintentional 5 years ago.
yeah.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
there are, yeah, or they would immediately use it in a storyline. So it's tough because now that there's a new creative team at the top of all this, I don't know what they want us to see, what they want us to read into, and what we're not supposed to read into because it was literally just a mistake. So I'm still navigating that, and I'll be
See,
interested to see.
I thought you were going a different direction, because I thought you were going to say 5 years ago you thought it was a mistake, but now you think everything they're doing is intentional, and if we see it, we're meant to see it, and there's a reason behind it. But you're saying the opposite?
I'm saying I don't know which is true yet
Hmm. Yeah,
because
because they're new.
because of what they used to. Yes, because this is a new group. So
Yeah.
I used to read these things in a different way, and now I'm kind of learning what the director wants me to see and what I'm not supposed to see.
Yeah, no, that is understandable. All right. Yeah, let's bring our first video caller into the show. We'll go with Sean from Murfreesboro first this week. Sean, welcome. Good to see you. Good to talk with you. What's in your mind about Raw tonight?
Yeah, well, Kelly, I think this is the first time I've gotten to actually talk with you on YouTube. But we've chatted, of course, on YouTube. But how are you, man? Good to have you on, and good to talk Raw with you. Yeah, I think I wanted to bring up the Braun Sammy promo stuff and everything with that. I thought that was the best part of the show, honestly. I loved every bit of it. I love Sammy just being that, you think, basically you're underestimating me. You think I've gotten back up before. People have knocked me down. I keep getting back up, and I'm gonna beat you. And Braun just like that badass, and I just thought everything about it was really good. It was really intense. They both talked about how important the Intercontinental title means to them. It just was good all around. I just thought it was. I just didn't expect. I knew it was going to be good, but it was like better than I was expecting going in. And I just thought everything about it was good, and then the intensity of it, the physical part, everything was good. What did you guys think of that whole segment altogether? I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was the basics, and they didn't try to do anything more than the basics because they did their work first. To me, a good segment that just is stripped down to the basics. There's this sympathetic character who fans like, who he knows who he is. He's good at being that person. You've got a heel, and the fans are invested in know who he is, and he acts in a consistent way. That's just doing your homework. So you don't need a cheat sheet. You don't need to create a bunch of meta, try to generate buzz on the internet or anything like that. It's just a good, straightforward segment, and I thought it worked well for both. Kelly, how about you?
Yeah, I thought this worked pretty well. Sammy, we knew Sammy would deliver in this situation, and he's essentially an underdog, even though he's the champion. They don't have to state that. They know that we think it.
Right.
Braun, I'm very, very pleased that they kept him in NXT as long as they did, because he was kind of dead on arrival as a baby face in the way they wanted him to be a baby face. It seemed like in a shorter amount of time, they learned the Roman Reigns rule, the Roman Reigns, whatever it was.
Lesson learned from?
Yes. That this guy needs to be a heel or a badass first, even just a tweener, before you can make him a beloved babyface. A lot of the fans are, their appetites are just totally whetted to cheer this guy. But I'm so glad they kept him down there before they realized, okay, we can't bring him up there that way. We've got to do this a different way. I'm not upset that he's going to a championship right away. And I wouldn't even be upset if he ends up taking that championship from Sammy right away, because Sammy's at his best when he's chasing anyway. So I think this can be really, really good for both of them. And I think that Braun actually wins here.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it could go either way. I'm not convinced of it, but I'm certainly not ruling it out. I thought Sammy, I talked in general, about people know who Sammy is. Sammy knows who he is. They like him. And Braun Breaker was again, he was in a lane. He was true to his character. He pretended to leave the ring. Then he used his speed to shock Sammy with a spear. Then he looked like he was leaving again, and he charges. Sammy outsmarts him. Again, just booking one-on-one stuff. The babyface gets one up. The heel gets one up. The babyface makes a smart comeback, outwits him. You've got, it builds up the intensity without giving everything away. And then the Intercontinental title has been, protected lately within WWE. And Sammy talked about talked about the context of Braun. You're breaking people in half. You're not going to break me in half. And if you take me down, I get back up. That's who I am. Do you know who I am? So all the lines were there. And I thought Braun too wasn't in a cartoonish, but believable in who he was. I'm not convinced that they're going to have Braun win the title right away, but Sean, I agree. If Sammy loses, it's no big deal. He can do other relevant things, but he did tell the story. If you take me down, I get back up. So I think if Braun loses, or if Braun wins, then I think Sammy finds a way to get a rematch.
Yes, that I agree with for sure.
Yeah.
I think they would just keep it going to SummerSlam and have another match. Because I think Braun, with what they're doing with him, I think it would mean a lot to have him win. I mean, that's a big statement right away. It's like, okay, this guy's a big deal. He's meaning what he says. He's a badass, and he's proven it. And he's beating a credible guy who means a lot to a lot of fans. So I think it'd be great. I wanted to say overall, as far as the show as a whole, I just wanted to bring up the point that this show just did a great job of promoting the PLE. talking about how much Money in the
Yeah.
Bank means, how important it
Yeah.
is. Like that's what you want in a show like this, the go home show for Raw. You want to be that's a big deal, and I thought everything did that. The matches, for the Money in the Bank spots, the Braun Sammy stuff, and then I didn't want to bring up. I wasn't going to talk about the Priest and Seth stuff tonight. Like I thought last week was pretty good. I didn't think tonight was as good. I didn't know what you guys thought. Like I've been not like everybody's. I brought up last week. Everybody's been a Priest detractor, and I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think people like what Priest has done, and I agree overall. And I said with Jason today on his show, I said he's not a world title main event guy for a long period of time. I agree with that. But tonight, just his promo stuff didn't impress me as much. Like I thought it was good. The interaction with Judgment Day was fine, but with Seth, it was just like he was good as far as I want to. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna beat you, Seth. I'm gonna, all this stuff. But what did you think of the segment with him overall? Were you as impressed with him as I have been recently? Because I didn't think it was as good tonight, but it was still fine. It was okay.
Yeah, Kelly, go first on that.
Yeah, I thought this segment was okay. I feel like I noticed what you noticed with him being kind of looking past this. Maybe, to be honest, I thought I caught a couple of guys looking at cue cards in this scene. It was not necessarily bad to that level. I thought it was fine, but I thought that a couple of times guys were reminding themselves where they were in this spot. There's a lot going on in this story, and that could be what's throwing these guys. You've got Finn out there stirring the pot, and what's going on with Liv and everything like that. So it could be that some of these guys, some of these talents are being asked to remember more story beats than we would expect them to. If this was a simple one-on-one, which it's really not, I think that it would be easier for them. But I think that some of the confusion, which I did feel also, is due to the fact that that these guys have long-term storylines that are going on long after the Seth and Damian stuff is going to end.
Mute.
There we are. Now I'm back. I'm really enjoying the Judgment Day segments. I think Priest is really intriguing right now as somebody who clearly is coming across as an alpha and a leader. I thought that was it was a really long segment without a cut. And I thought they pulled it off well. I did. I mean, I think the Liv is Liv. She's just cartoonish, one-dimensional part of this, but it's still an integral part of what makes this interesting, given what she's doing and how she's going about it. But I like the dynamic with Balor and Priest, and Balor kind of standing up to Priest having a good answer. You want Priest to have an answer. He's destined to be the babyface here in this dynamic. You want Priest to have a good response to what Finn brings up. But I think when we listen to what Finn says, there's rationale behind what Finn is saying. And you can see why he believes it. And he sees Balor changing Priest changing since he won the title. And then Priest is like, yeah, I said I was the most important guy last week, but I am because I was champion, and now you're champion again. So now you're one of the important people. I mean, it was a great comeback. It's one of those things where like you can get yourself worked up about something that somebody says, and then suddenly they put context on it. You're like, oh, that's what you meant. Oh, I wish I hadn't spent a week being upset about that. So I thought it was good writing, and I thought it was good execution. And then JD in the background playing video games, and Carlito, being excited about what Liv has done. I don't know. It's like, these kids, they're just, immature kids playing video games, but they're not overplaying that, but having them in the background adds interest to this. So I think they're putting a lot of thought into it. I thought they continue to pull it off. It's not to say Priest is going to be this breakout star at his age after what he's doing, but I mean, this is the best he's been doing what he's doing right now. I thought Seth was good talking about this match and what the title means.
Yeah, right.
And so, yeah, I mean, again, very, very general. It's like last night's AEW show. There's a lot of good matches, some better than others. Nothing, but it was a lot of different styles, but it was just good stuff. And to me, this was like good stuff. There's segment after segment after segment with Raw to various degrees of good. They know what they're doing there, and I think they have a good handle on how to execute it. And I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
In the line, Priest going, I talked to Rhea, and Dom going, gulp. Oh, I'm not the only, like, did Dom really talk to Rhea? Is he really relaying the information correctly? Has a little bit of a solo Paul Heyman Reigns thing where you're not sure who's, if Solo's telling the truth or not and all that. And now you have Dom saying, oh yeah, everything's fine, but is it? So yeah, just all in all, I like this. Sean, any follow-up, anything I didn't cover or anything you want to respond to that Kelly and I said?
No, I like that you brought up the Seth stuff because he still comes out with the stuff at the beginning, with the song, and I'm Seth freaking Rollins, like that's whatever. But then he's been getting serious a lot quicker now, talking about like what you said, what the title means to him. I have to win that title back. That's just good, like you said, good stuff about how much it means to him and how much he wants it. And I do think, or what do you guys think about the match? I think Priest. This match in particular, I think Priest needs to win clean. They've had too many interference finishes lately. I know they're going to be daunted to do something like that, depending on what order the matches are laid out in Saturday. I think Priest, to at least lose to Gunther, which I'm assuming that's going to happen, which it should, he has to beat Seth clean to me. I think you want him strong going into face Gunther. What do you think?
Kelly?
I think that depends on the story. I think it's way more likely that he wins with the help of Finn, which he does not want. That gets him. I mean, if what you want is for him to be a monster heel, then you put him over clean. But you don't want that. You want him to turn face. That's where they're going. So I think that the best thing you can do is have him win with unwanted help from some combination of the other three guys in Judgment Day. And that's just one more step toward Damian Priest's final form.
What do you think Gunther SummerSlam match is going to be, Kelly? How many twists and turns will there be between now and then?
Oh, boy. That's a good question. On the spot, boy. I would have thought that they would save Gunther for later, and so the fact that they're doing the like, I thought he would win King of the Ring, and then when they announced what the winner for King of the Ring gets, I said, okay, no chance because it's not time yet. So now that it's time. I don't know what the changes are between now and then. Obviously, Ludwig Kaiser is a bigger. It seems like they like him more than I thought they did. He got injured and they still did a hype segment of him today. So they've got a lot of things going on with him. So I don't know if Gunther is meant to turn face on all those guys, and the fact that he loses will be made okay by the fact that he turns face. Can you tell I'm trying hard to avoid the actual question?
That's okay. Sean, what do you think? Where do you think we're going to land at SummerSlam with Gunther?
I mean, I honestly think they're going Priest Gunther. I think that's where they're going to go. Somebody just said in the chat, I think, Seth and Gunther would be a great match. Don't get me wrong. And it'd be fantastic. And it fits, the heel face dynamic. And so it's weird, if Priest doesn't turn going into that match, it just feels a little weird in that sense. But I just think Priest has done a good job, and I'd like to see him get that match against Gunther, even if he's going to lose, because I just think they're going to continue to build that Judgment Day stuff and see where it goes. So that's what you
don't want, Sean, is Gunther winning a title because Balor cost Priest the title.
Yes,
so does Priest? Do you want Gunther to win against a weak opponent, or do you want Seth to be champion as a babyface, retain the title, or lose the title to Gunther, but then get the rematch at the Berlin show? Or do you keep Gunther on the chase going in there so he can win there? I don't know. I mean, I asked the question. I don't think there's an obvious an obvious sole answer. There might be, some scenarios that make more sense than others that we could lean on. But anyway, Sean, anything else you want to bring up?
Yeah. So I wanted you. Well, I want to talk about the Money in the Bank stuff because I wanted to get your thoughts, Wade, on kind of how Lyra's progressing. But I wanted to hear Kelly's thoughts. 'Cause I haven't really heard him talk about what he's thought about Lyra since she's been on the main roster. Because I do think, I mean, her matches are obviously really good. I think she's been good in the ring. But I think they're giving her some backstage stuff, and I think she's coming along, slowly but nicely. I really like what she's done so far. I think there's definitely a lot of potential there. So I wanted to hear you guys. Does she have a 0 chance of winning? Which I kind of think she does. I think maybe 10% of winning Money in the Bank. But I wanted to hear what you guys have thought about how she's progressed, since she's been on the main roster.
Yeah, I'm not ready to declare anybody 0 on the women's side. Certainly some more likely than others. Kelly, what do you think?
Yeah, nobody's got a 0 chance here. I'm going to say that Prior Lake's own Tiffany Stratton is going to win this match. But if I didn't have a strong feeling that somebody was going to win this, I'd say she's got a chance. I've been following Lyra since NXT UK. I watched every episode of that. I have seen every episode of NXT, so I have seen a lot of Lyra's matches. So I'm happy with the way she's going. Her wrestling was always good, and it continues to get a little better. And her acting was always okay, and it continues to get better slowly. I like that they brought her in, that they had her make a deep run in that tournament, and they had her lose to give her something to overcome. I think the booking has been very, very strong for her. I think that's exactly what you want out of her. She's in the zeitgeist, but she's not, but she has something that she has to overcome. So I'm a big fan of that. I don't think this is her moment, but I don't think it's an accident that she's there. I think it's a sink or swim moment for her.
Right.
In the chat room, Rock City says Zoe is the only woman with 0 chance of winning Money in the Bank. I wouldn't even put her at 0. I think Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green are the 2 favorites. I think Naomi has a very low chance. I just don't think they feel they want to invest that in her. I would put Zoe ahead of Naomi, honestly. Io Sky's been there. She's good. If they have a story with Damage Control, I mean, I wouldn't rule that out. Lyra just have somewhere kind of in the in the lower half, but more than Naomi, and I don't know, similar to Io and Zoe, I guess. But like I said, I can't rule anybody out. But Chelsea and Tiffany seem like the 2 pretty heavy favorites. Yeah. Anything else you want to bring up, Sean?
I just want to say, again, I would love to see Chelsea win, and I think they could make her more serious, a fun character, but still a lot more serious than she's been, because I think she's got a lot of talent. She's very underrated in my mind. But no, I just thought this was a really good show. I thought they built to the Money in the Bank really, really well, and I just think it's a hot product for good reason. The stories are good. The matches are still fine for what they are. Some of them exceed expectations, and I'm just along for the ride. It's going to be a lot of fun. Kelly, fun, man. Wade, go VIP. You won't be sorry. I appreciate all you guys. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Sean. Very much. Yeah, everybody go VIP, support us, and get a lot in return. PWTorch.com/GoVIP will give you all the details. You can sync up our VIP podcast, the VIP exclusives, and then the ad-free versions of these shows on all our shows, VIP, Daily Casts, Wade Keller shows, all on the VIP feed. You can get it on Spotify if you're subscribing to Spotify and use that interface by subscribing through Patreon. Patreon is also compatible with Apple Podcasts, but our main VIP feed through the main VIP website is also compatible with Apple Podcasts. All that is detailed with all the details on what comes with membership at pwtorch.com/govip. One of the perks going with the main VIP sign-up method, as long as you're not attached to Spotify, is you can customize your podcast feed so you can subscribe to shows individually instead of just all in one feed. The customization is something I know a lot of people like to do, so you can have the nostalgia shows in one feed, the NXT 8 Years Back in a separate feed, and enlisted of those, binge them. We're in the mood to do that. We'll talk with Kelly about that in a little bit. So yeah, all that's explained at pwtorch.com/govip. Nate, if you are ready for us, Nate Lindbergh attended tonight. Kelly, did you know that?
I did. I found that out about halfway through the show. Yeah, our PWT Talks NXT chat is fairly active. So the three of us, we banter a little bit during other shows.
Fun.
But even as we were bantering about this show, I did not know that he was there.
That's funny.
Until he specifically said so.
So Nate, welcome. You're in a dark car as a passenger. We're glad to have you. It's a hazy, almost Wyatt Six like mysterious figure, but I understand that you want to be in a dark car for safety. So Nate, tell us what stood out on the show tonight. Welcome.
No, thank you.
Never looked better.
Thanks. I know. Oh, hey, there we go. I get some light. Thanks. All right. No, I thought it was a great show. I had it's actually funny. The last time I went to a live Raw, I took a couple friends with me that weren't wrestling. Well, they were old wrestling fans, but not current wrestling fans. And then I listened to you the next day, and I hear that or a couple days later, it was the lowest rated Raw ever at the time. So it was nice to go back into the building, and the energy in the building tonight I thought was great, especially starting out Jey Uso. You just see. I wrote down in my notes, "Sea of Yeet." It was just you just saw everybody kind of getting up and doing their thing. But no, overall, I thought it was a really good show. I've got two other people in the car with me that I think agree with me. Yep, they do. So yeah, it was a good time. It's a good time.
So let's talk about the biggest crowd responses. I'm always interested because it doesn't always come across on TV. What segment tonight, or what wrestler or wrestlers tonight were on a different level than everybody else? Even if a lot of things were over, was there anything or anybody or any segment that stood out?
Honestly, I think Jey Uso probably got the biggest reaction of the night. Now, granted, it was also opening the show. And right about 30 seconds before they started, Samantha kind of gets on the mic and prepped everybody like, hey, everybody, Jay's going to be doing his entrance. And he's asked everybody to get those, what did he say, heat lights?
Yeah, get the
heat lights out. And so it kind of prepped everybody for that. But I'd say Drew McIntyre got a really good pop. Sheamus got a bigger pop than I was expecting. Anybody else stand out to you guys?
The Wyatt.
Oh, the Wyatt segment.
Interesting.
Got a really big pop.
That's not a surprise. I think
everyone had their phones out.
Yeah.
How did the video? What was the mood in the arena when the video played? Because all we saw was the video. They didn't do the thing where they cut away to show the video playing in the arena like they had been doing with some things last year. So talk about what happened in the crowd. Was there a buzz? Were people attentive? Did people get up in their seats and go to the concourse?
So that's where we were during that segment. At the tail end of during the women's triple threat, we thought it was a good idea to go check out the merch stand.
Yeah.
And then we hear all of that in the background, and we're like, oh crap! So we tried to poke our head into the arena, and security was like, well, if you're not, seats aren't here, you got to go. So unfortunately, I don't really have a good answer for that one. That was the one thing that we weren't kind of in the arena for. But
yeah, yep. Seth Rollins, compare his reaction. I know Jay had the advantage kind of being out first, but obviously people like the sing along with Seth.
Yes.
Cover that.
Yeah, no, he absolutely got a massive pop. Between the pyro and just everybody singing his song and everything, massive pop, real big energy in the building, for that. And I think he carried himself extremely well, as he always does. I thought, like I said, I thought it was a really good segment. The two of them, they're like, they basically had the crowd in the palm of their hand for the whole segment there.
Compare that to Sami Zayn.
Sammy also had a really, really great reaction tonight. Everybody singing along again. I'd say Seth probably had the bigger reaction. You guys agree?
Nate froze.
And then for his segment too.
You're back.
Well, are we back now? Okay, cool.
Yep.
But yeah, and then when he was talking with God, who was the segment with? I'm blanking out.
Braun Breaker.
Braun Breaker, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So everybody was really behind Seth or Sammy rather. There were quite a few people that in the crowd, especially this one guy behind us that kept barking. They're very vocal about Braun Breaker, but he didn't. Braun did like he got about the response that I expected, which I don't think he's like super over yet. But I mean, I think he's more over than probably Kelly and I expected him to be at this point. Coming out of NXT, he just he was starting to come into his own with Baron Corbin, but there was still something I thought that was kind of missing about Braun Breaker. But now, I think he's starting to get it a little bit, especially on the main roster. You get a little bit more of that exposure. But like I said, the two of them really captured the crowd. Held the crowd's attention throughout that whole segment.
Kelly, do you want to jump in with a question for Nate?
A couple, maybe. So early on with that segment with the Wyatt Six, they had so the little the piano plinks come in, and we obviously hear quite a response. I think it was Nikki came in and gave the gift to the announcers. Were you in a place where you could see what they did there? Did the security guys just lay out, or did they play a scene in front of you?
Good question.
Beat those guys down, or did they just bring the lights up and say, "Oh, hey, this totally happened"?
So it was kind of weird. So I was looking towards like the stage mostly where Chad Gable was, and they had all the the three characters show up at the stage, and then one of the guys I'm with, Nick, was I kind of caught him looking at the announce table, and I look over there and I saw Nikki Cross and somebody laid across the table. To me, and then even in the replays that they showed in the building, it just looked like somebody laid out on the table. So I don't really know exactly what happened over there. But I thought it was interesting because, the segment clearly goes to commercial, and then Nikki Cross just crawls back under the ring, and which was kind of weird. And she gets down on all fours and in character gets down on all fours and slinks back under the ring. And then
is she still there? Do you think?
Oh, I don't know. She might still be there. She's probably hanging out with Hornswoggle somewhere.
Took a nap, yeah.
I know he's not in WWE anymore, but in my head canon, Hornswoggle's always on the ring.
Yeah.
And then the house lights came up. Jey Uso kind of just pops up from we were sitting hard cam, so he pops up from the other side of the ring, and then just gets back on the mic like nothing else, like nothing happened. He's kind of like, "Oh, that was weird. I don't want to get in their way," or something like that. And then, "Welcome to Monday Night Raw, guys. Enjoy the show." And then went back up the ramp. So it was a little weird because we had all this weird spooky stuff, and then it's like, all right, we're just back to normal now.
Yeah, I'm sure it came across just fine on TV as it does, but it was a little weird for that particular segment to be in the building for it.
Yeah.
Whose voice did we just hear? Give us a name.
That is Jobin. Jobin, every once in a while. Jobin, every once in a while, will help me out when Kelly can't do PWTorch NXT. So he's been on the show before.
Yep.
Two now, I think.
What kind of response did Rey Mysterio get? And talk about the crowd pops also while we're on it for what was going on with Dom and Liv landing on each other.
So first, Sean, Ilya Dragunov got a mediocre response, which kind of sucked, but whatever. I still love Ilya Dragunov. But Rey Mysterio he got that big nostalgia pop. Dominic, the boos in the building were off the charts for it. As they always are. But it was good. It was a good segment. I mean, I think it was a little bit predictable considering, Dom comes out during her match. She comes out during his match with Ray, and they kind of interfere with one another. But overall, I personally really enjoyed the match. It looked like Ray was having some problems with his mask. He kept kind of fiddling with it, and there was a point where It almost looked like the ref was kind of shielding him in the corner. I couldn't quite tell, but you could see him like working with his mask or something. But yeah, like I said, good crowd response. Everybody was like, people were really into Liv. Whether they were cheering or they were booing, they were there for it. People seem to really be into that storyline. That there was a lot of crowd involvement when anything involving Judgment Day or Liv was on the screen.
Nate, was there any point the crowd was not into it? That you said it was a good crowd. Was there anything real notable where they kind of disengaged?
The women's triple threat, I'd say. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, as much as Kelly loves Dakota Kai.
Karrion Kross.
That's right, and the Karrion Kross match was as a matter of fact, I forgot about it until you just brought it up.
That's how
and that's Nick in the background. Yeah, those two matches kind of the crowd wasn't 100% there for. Although I did notice on Paul Ellering's jacket it said "What a Rush," and I liked the little nod there. But yeah, I'd say those two segments were kind of muted for the most part.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Anything happened before or after Raw aired?
So after Raw aired, they actually did nothing. They ended with Drew McIntyre, and that was it. I was kind of expecting something, but usually they'll announce it. At least the times I've been there, they announce whether they're doing a dark match or something like that. Usually before the main event to keep people in the seats. They didn't announce anything. They did a main event taping beforehand. Tozawa, who did the Tozawa face?
Tozawa and Pete Dunne.
That's right, Tozawa and Pete Dunne.
Okay.
Pete Dunne went
Sounds
over,
about right.
which, yep, sounds about right. And then it was the Creed brothers versus LWO, Wild and Dragon Lee, and LWO went over. They were both actually really, really good matches. Really like awesome matches, just kind of get the crowd engaged and involved. Prior to the show. So hey, watch main event this week. There were some good matches.
Mike Myers, you hear that? He's in the chat with us. He covers main event for PWTorch.com with his write-ups. So, Mike, now you know what you got to look forward to when that drops. Kelly, is there anything else you want to ask Nate?
I think I covered it because I was going to ask about Liv. Yeah, other than that, I don't know. Unless you saw anything real cool at the merch table, I'm good.
They had some really cool, some of the cool signature series belts, boys tag belts and things. But
I got my Alexa.
Yeah, we got
plushie.
Yep. Joe got their Alexa Bliss plushie. They're excited about that. We got a couple Wyatt 6 t-shirts. But yeah, it was a lot of CM Punk merch. Jey Uso. Matter of fact, there was so much CM Punk merch that like the three of us were expecting Punk to be there. We were kind of like surprised almost that he didn't show up.
Were there CM Punk chants?
Yes. Yeah. The CM Punk chants
just during Drew, or just spontaneous, or just for Drew? Okay.
Just for Drew, and one thing that I did notice throughout the course of the night, going to wrestling shows for the last like 20 years or so, you always hear the Ric Flair woo breakout, and I still did, but I think I heard more yeet chants tonight than I did woos, by far.
Interesting.
By far.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nate, anything else you want to share with us before I let you go?
No, I think that about does it. Like I said, it was a really good show. Really good show.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it. Like I said, the last time I went to Raw, I told myself I'd never go to another Raw, but these guys talked me into it, and I'm glad I did, because if I'm gonna go to a show, I'd rather go to a house show. It's non-televised. Usually have more fun. But I always felt like I was a prop at a TV taping, but I didn't tonight. It was good, more engaging. They did a lot of engaging things with the crowd, like the DX, crotch chop cam and things like that.
A sign.
Yeah, sign of the night, but just a lot of things to keep the fans involved. Whereas I don't remember them doing a lot of that. 2019 was the last time I went to a Raw. So I don't remember them doing that back then.
Put the best sign up.
Though they didn't put the best sign up. What was it? The
Screw.
No, it was did somebody eats corn the long way?
Oh,
that's at every show.
Yeah. Chad Gable eats corn the long way. There was another one.
Someone does that every time.
There was another one directly across from Hardcam. Matter of fact, when Drew was making his entrance, probably right before they cut to the commercial break, you can see him pointing at a sign, and it was just a big orange sign that says "Screw Larry." I thought that was great. But yeah, it probably best seats I've ever had. We were sitting maybe 10 rows behind Hardcam, so we had a great view of everything the entire night.
And they played to you.
Yes,
That's nice.
Fantastic.
Yes. That's the secret. It's a good place to go for TV is Hardcam side, folks. WWE won't sell them to you right away, but wait till they need to, and then you get a good spot. Exactly. All right, cool. Nate and company. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
That was the other thing. Capacity. I don't. There were a spattering of seats throughout the arena, but that was the. I've gone to quite a few different Raws there. Again, not since 2019, but been to quite a few different shows there. That's probably the most full I've seen that building in recent memory. So yeah. Other than that, I think that's it.
Sweet, Nate. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for taking time to talk to us on the way home.
All right, no problem, Kelly. We'll see you tomorrow.
Excellent.
All right, later, guys.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So yeah, check out